Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives, coming to you live once again from our individual houses right here on Zoom on YouTube. I am joined by my good man Mike and Kyle, whatever his name is. What's going on, guys?
Moo.
Whoa, I don't know what's going on over here. Everyone's acting
We the
crazy. What's up?
best podcast, y'all. Uh, for those who are listening to us, we have our filters on. That's just letting you know. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun tonight as we discuss, break down, give initial impressions, favorite tracks, and whatnot of Taylor Swift's brand new album, Midnights. Oh boy, I don't even know. Like, should I go first on this one, or just Kyle want to go first? Do we have any?
Nah, you can take this one first.
Oh,
His
no.
name is Cowell.
I think
Not
that
Owl. I
Cowell.
love it.
Like
We're talking
I
about
think this is
Cowell.
going to be an interesting one because I think we have one big fan, one person that's not a fan, and then someone just right in the middle. So JT from the middle, I think it makes sense for you to go first on it.
middleman.
I am so ready. Like, dude, I'm so ready, man. Like, I got my glasses on. I'm ready to.
It's midnight, man. I gotta.
It's midnight. We're talking about Taylor Swift's Midnight, y'all. Woo. These video filters are gonna kill me. Oh my god. Anyways, I digress. Taylor Swift's Midnights, man. So, as not a massive fan, not a low-key fan, I am an average going fan of Taylor Swift. I have enjoyed a lot of her work over the course of her career so far, truthfully. I really enjoyed Lover quite a bit. I actually enjoyed the single she put out with Panic at the Disco, Me. There was some of her more recent stuff before COVID hit. I actually enjoyed, full disclosure, everyone, Shake It Off and Style are some of my biggest guilty pleasures, but they are really great songs at the same time, too. Shake It Off is more of a guilty pleasure, but that's me. But because I can secretly be hiding somewhere going, shake it up. And then, sorry, yes, I do that in my spare time. I know it's ridiculous. But going into 2020, when everything was changing in the world, Taylor Swift did put out 2 more albums that I know, and we may or may not have discussed this on our podcast here. But we all have different opinions of what she did there. Some hated, some loved. I didn't mind it personally, but it wasn't my like more. It was out of left field. I was like, oh my god, she can do this, but it was not like in the ideal thought process I thought she would do. She did Folklore, she did Evermore, and then we get to 2022 where she puts out Midnights, where we are right now. For me, this was a pop album nonetheless to me, but at the same exact time, I really enjoyed what I heard coming out of. I feel like it was a step up, personally, coming off of Folklore and Evermore, which were just like very different styles for her, very different takes on stuff for her. But going into this one, I felt like she kept the slow vibe of her music, but the pop sound started to return a little bit. Truthfully, I felt that she actually. And I was in shock that she was, not fully, but I was in shock that just in most of her pop songs on this album, she was like saying, I'm not gonna say I'm here, but the F word. She was saying like, the S word. She was saying a lot of explicit language in her songs, which is something that's out of left field for her. Truthfully, in my eyes, at least growing up with her over as time has gone and stuff like that. But so going into this album, I was like, all right, I'm excited. Folklore and Evermore had me a little bit like confused, like what's going on. But this album, to me, was a step up in more in the pop direction. But it was not like, it's not your typical pop in a sense. It's not really like your average, hey, everybody, it's me. We're all going to get it. It's not like that high, not that high energy pop music. There's a couple songs that are kind of like that. But a lot of these songs are like laid back pop. I almost got like an indie vibe. I'm not the biggest indie guy per se, but I overall I did like what I heard for the most part, and I have my standout tracks when we'll get there. But overall, I enjoyed what I heard for the most part. Nothing crazy to critique on too much per se. We'll get into the track listing and stuff in a little bit, like I said. But for me, I overall I liked what I heard. It's her going in a different direction, and I like that truthfully. Who wants to go next?
Cowell.
All right,
I'll
Cowl.
take it next. So, unlike JT, who's more of just your casual fan, I've been a big fan of Taylor Swift for God since her Speak Now album.
Wow.
Years and years ago. That's really what got me into her. I knew the songs before that, obviously the radio hits, all this and that. I am done with this background now, or this filter.
We're having way
The
too much fun
mustache.
up here.
Anyway, yeah. So I will say I was not the biggest fan of her last two releases. Folklore and Evermore were both. I don't like indie. I don't like any really any indie music. It's just not for me. I find it boring. The lack of any kind of exciting instrumentation on those albums really killed them for me. I do think that if you took the best songs from both of those albums and put them together, you would have had one great record. That's not what we got. That's not to say it doesn't have some great songs on there. It does. I'm more of a fan of your pop styled Taylor Swift, the fun music, things like that. And even her sad music back, in the day, it was still like exciting in a way. Like it was still really good. The instrumentation still had something to offer. So going into this record, I wasn't sure what to expect. Was worried we we're getting more of the same, which in like looking back on, we kind of did, but we got it kind of mixed with her previous styles. Like this record brought back a lot of hints of Reputation, a lot of hints of the slower songs from Lover, mixed with her singer-songwriter style from Folklore and Evermore, which I think she has fallen into this singer-songwriter trap. It's not just her, it's something that a lot of singer-songwriters fall into, where once they get into that mode, where it's like, all right, I got to write all this serious poetic music, they then get into this trend of, I can no longer write fun, simple, like simplistic pop songs or like just a fun, simplistic song. I think she's fallen into that trap. This album had a lot of great songs on it, which we'll get into, but the production on this killed me. The amount of tracks with minimalistic instrumentation, yes, it's pop. It's not folk indie like the last two. But I think there's a lot of recency bias that we're all seeing for this record. Oh, it's a new Taylor Swift record. Yay. Great. But in my opinion, it's nowhere near her top work. I'll get into it when we talk about the songs, but there's this atmospheric drone that goes on like song to song, just in the background of every song almost. Kills a lot of it for me, makes a lot of them sound the same. Her voice has a lot of unnecessary reverb and after effects on it, on way too many of these tracks. She does weird on a couple of the tracks, most notably Midnight Rain. She does these weird low pitch shifted vocals that don't work. I think that production wise, there was a lot of interesting choices, to say the least, many of which not for the better. I'll leave it at that for now and turn it over to Mike.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I'm sorry. It's a little hot in here. Gotta take off my jacket here. My bad. Sorry.
Oh no, here it goes.
Oh, Mike disappeared. There he is.
I got my I Hate It shirt on just for this this review. Yes, unfortunately.
We're gonna fight.
Show it, share it.
What do you say?
Show it and share it. It's okay. I hate it.
Oh God. This was a painful album to listen to for me. I definitely came into this hoping we were getting the fun Taylor Swift that like wasn't gonna be music to like fall asleep to. And like essentially that's what this was. It was like literally I was reading about it and it was like, oh, these are the songs that describe sleepless nights. And I'm like, dude, I already have enough trouble staying awake for a lot of like some of the pop music's like, slow kind of like barely a beat in the background, kind of things, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a killer for me. And this was tough. This was really tough. So coming into, I mean, I'm asking me about pop is like asking a mechanic to tell you about ballet. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I have the least interest, knowledge, or even kind of know-how of the genre. So so definitely this is gonna be a tough villain role for me today. And I'm sure all the Swifters, they're coming for me. They're coming
would
for
have
me, man.
expected that.
I know this is such a twist and turn of fate here. I mean, it's just yeah. So definitely came into this not expecting the almost anemic pace of every song. It was just at times I had to just like slap myself in the face just to keep myself awake. So yeah, it was tough.
Well,
Yes. Yeah. Expect a lot of thumbs downs for this video, JT. I apologize for that in advance.
Oh no,
We'll just
believe
edit
me.
out all of Mike's parts.
Yeah.
Edit it out in
No.
post.
And from what
Don't
I
worry.
hear, the Taylor fan base is very brutal. I'm sure I'll be getting a brick through the window as we
Oh, I'm
speak.
sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So
Well, listen, just Mike, just want to know, I do cut up the show into career retrospective segments,
Okay.
and I upload them to our channel separately. I will cut out your segments. Don't worry.
And
Thank
post
you.
it separately. Put Mike's segments completely on its own.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. You know what? I might just put
And
Mike's segments up only.
my name
This
is
one.
Kyle. And
My name is Cowl
Owl.
because he was a
Simon
cow,
Cowell.
whatever. Oh my.
Simon Cowell.
Oh my god. Well, anyways, let's jump over to our track listing show. I'll read off the track listing as I always try to, at least, or if I can pronounce these damn things anymore. Whatever. I try so hard, guys. I really do. Oh boy. And we did the 3 a.m. edition, correct? Just want to make sure we're talking about that, right?
I listened to every edition of this, so I'll talk about all of it.
Okay, you can talk about the more 3 a.m. edition of Midnights. I will read off the
3 a.m. edition, the Target edition. I got all of it. Don't worry.
Oh, Kyle came ready tonight. Let's go.
I listened to the 3 a.m. edition too, because I thought what he said 3 a.m. edition, I thought that was some special thing that they were only releasing for people who are showing up to whatever.
Oh,
and then I found it. Yeah, then I found it and I was like, oh, I guess I'll go through that too. So yeah.
Yeah, you're like, all right, whatever. No.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever, man. It's a weed, whatever. No. But Lavender Haze, Maroon, Anti-Hero, Snow on the Beach, featuring Lana Del Rey. I'll chime on her in a second if you want. But You're on Your Own, Kid, Midnight Rain, Question, Vigilante Shit, Bejeweled, Labyrinth, Karma, Sweet Nothing, Mastermind. And if to jump over to the 3 a.m. edition track listing part, The Great War, Bigger Than the Whole Sky, Paris, High Infidelity, Glitch, Woulda, Could've, Should've, and Dear Reader. And the Midnight's Deluxe CD, how could we forget about this part? It hits different. You're on your own kid strings remix, and Sweet Nothing piano remix. Good God! All right, that's the track listing, ladies and gentlemen. Do I have to really have to share my own standout tracks first?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh my God, cringe. Small cringe. Well, I'm gonna start by saying that Moron. I'm just kidding. Moron 5. What?
Jordan?
Jordy, what's going on? No. But truthfully, the ones that I went back to a lot in the past 3 to 2 or 3 days, 4 days, whatever it was. Ones for me personally was Snow on the Beach with Lana Del Rey, You're on Your Own, Kid, and really Lavender Haze. I don't know, like, because for whatever reason, those 3 tracks, the first half of the album really just stuck out to me much more than the rest of the album. I mean, one might say it felt like front loaded in a sense, but for me personally, it was like Lavender Haze, Anti-Hero, Snow on the Beach, and You're on Your Own, Kid. And I was like, all right. And then afterwards, I was like, I remember I'm going to Boston this past weekend, right? And I'm driving up there. I'm like, saying to my own stuff, like, I'm starting to fall asleep here. I was like, I'm driving like up on the highway. Like, I was about to say, I wanted to say to my girlfriend, I was like, do you mind if we change it? But she's like, no, we have to listen to it. I didn't ask her that though, because I know she wanted to listen to it. But don't kill me. I love you. Don't kill me. But for me, this album was like very like, if we're just talking about the first 13 tracks on the standard edition of Midnight's, for me personally, Lavender Haze, Anti-Hero, Snow on the Beach, featuring Lana Del Rey, and You're on Your Own, Kid. So tracks 1, 3, 4, and 5. That, and how can we fit more on? I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's my those are my personal standards. There's something about like, and also Lana Del Rey as an artist, I really like. I discovered her a couple years ago, and she's actually pretty not that bad in my eyes. I have to listen to her more than I did initially, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. But that kind of like surprised me. Oh, she has featuring Lana Del Rey on there. It's kind of interesting. That's why it stuck out to me. But yeah, Lavender Haze, Anti-Hero, Snow on the Beach, You're on Your Own, Kid, and the rest of them, I was like questioning my existence for a little bit. For lack of a better word. I should have the I Hate It shirt on. But yeah, but those are my tracks. I mean, outside of those 4 or 5, whatever I said, that's really it for me. I mean, because the rest of the album is just like it's quiet, it's experimental. Don't get me wrong, it's very experimental. But that's one of the things that I felt turned it off relief for me a little bit, truthfully. I felt like there could have been more like of a pop experimentation rather than a indie folk pop experimentation. I wish she would have been a little bit more like upbeat and pop. That's me personally, but we have the album we have, and that's going to be that. Who would like to go next, the villain or Cowl?
I got it.
Cowl.
So I have a more positive of an opinion than JT does. Not much though. I'll start with my favorites. By far, my favorites on this, Anti-Hero, without a doubt, the best track on here. Specifically talking about the standard edition. Snow on the Beach, surprisingly, was up there for me. Okay. I was really worried when I saw Lana Del Rey's name on there. She's an artist that I do not like at all. I've never found a single song by her that I've enjoyed. That said, her contribution to the song, pretty negligible. I think she says 3 words throughout the entire thing. Pretty sure she just said 4 words. I think she says Snow on the Beach a couple times, and that's really all I could pick out from her. Fine with me. Karma, I thought was really good. Brought back some more of that fun pop sounds. Really wish that was more what we got on here. I would also say my other favorite one that was right up there with Anti-Hero, the 2 10s from this album. There's only 2 of them. Was Anti-Hero, and then from the Target Deluxe Edition, Hits Different. Hits Different is the most upbeat, fun pop song from this record. How this didn't make the actual album, well, it astounds me to this day. From the minute I heard it, I was like, why would you not put this on the actual record? That had like hit single potential behind it. As is Anti-Hero. I think she did a great job picking Anti-Hero as the lead single, even though prior to the album coming out, there was no singles released. There was nothing released from it, which I think was another reason that this kind of let me down a little bit, was all of the promotion for it, all the aesthetic does not line up for the sound that is within here. All the aesthetic leads to like a kind of like a Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac type vibe. That is not what's on here at all. What is on here isn't bad. It's very minimalistic pop, which is really what's been the trend for the past, I'd say 3 or 4 years, maybe even a little bit longer. It's not for me. It's not my biggest forte, but those are the songs that really stood out to me. Other ones, I do think they're all good songs, with the exception of 3, which I'll get into in a minute. I would say that this is a record full of a bunch of like 7 and 8s. There's nothing like extremely good about them, but I would still consider them good songs that I put into my rotation. And a lot of them are good like background music. I'm just gonna be real. Now I'm gonna move on to the songs that I don't care for.
No. The songs you hate, Kyle. You're not getting on the side of
we'll get there,
of
Mike. We'll get there.
Okay.
Don't you
Oh, so
worry.
this is your mid. This is your mid
These
category.
are my mid. These are my mid.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe you were taking
no,
you know.
The Great War from the 3 a.m. edition. Insanely boring. It has some cool. It's one of the most forgettable songs on here. It has some cool lyrics, and like when you're listening to it, you can kind of like visualize what she's going for. But after it's over, I'm like, what? I now forget the song. Not surprised to see that Aaron Dessner is a writer on that. I'm not a huge fan of her work with him. I'm not a big fan of him in general. Is what it is. But other than that, songs like Bejeweled, it's good, but it just has again some questionable production choices. The chorus is catchy. There's just something about it that's just like cringy. I don't know if that's the production choice of putting like the sound effects in there. Those are probably my only like mid ones. The rest are like they're about 7s to 8s. Like again, I do agree with JT, your point. The beginning of the album I think is definitely stronger than the end for the most part.
You might say it hits different.
Oh, I definitely can. Now,
JT, that's my thing to do. That's my thing to do.
Oh, so I'm putting into the ones that I absolutely hate. Let me also just mention vigilante shit here.
Oh, no.
I already knew I wasn't going to like this song just based on the title. I knew it was going to be cringy. And I was right. What I didn't expect was this to be insanely boring. I expected like cringy lyrics with like a Reputation style, like dark pop beat or something. Nope. This is just Taylor Swift's attempt to be Billie Eilish. It doesn't work. The worst part about it is I could see it being a great song because in my head, I'm like, all right, she could build it up right here and go into like a powerful chorus or like, nope, doesn't happen. Just stays on the same whispery wavelength the entire time of her just trying to be angsty. Don't care for it. Now I'll get into the ones I actually hate. Bigger Than the Whole Sky. I know everyone seems to love that song because it's so sad. I get it. People love the sad stuff. I think it's just boring. It's so boring. There's nothing in it. It just sounds, to me, it sounds like a leftover from Folklore or Evermore. I know it's not. I know she specifically said she wrote all this afterwards, whatever. I do believe that the subject material is about like a miscarriage, and if that did happen to her, very sad. Doesn't make a song good though. Now, my least favorite song, and I hate this song. There you
Yes,
go, Mike.
there it is.
There you go. Labyrinth is one of the worst songs I think she's ever put out. It is way too long. She does this weird, breathy, airy vocal throughout the entire thing. It does nothing but the same thing throughout the entire song. Again, with the breathy, airy vocals, it's has that reverb going on. Nothing about this one I like. I skip it every single time. And yeah, that pretty much sums up the ones that I really, really don't like. Everything else I think is pretty above average. They're all things that I would add to a playlist. I hate some choices within those songs, but she tends to redeem them throughout other parts of the song, like Midnight Rain, for example. I actually enjoy that song. Could have been much higher without those pitch shifted vocals. What the point behind those were, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if it's supposed to sound like a conversation with a guy, but at that point, why not just get a featured artist to do a guy vocal on it? I don't understand it. I don't think it's great. I also hate the lyrics, specifically in the chorus of Question, because I don't know what the hell she's talking about. I don't know what kind of scenario that is that she's referring to, but it's a scenario that I don't think anyone has ever found themselves in, ever. And it's also just a huge run-on question. I hate it. I'm just gonna read the lyrics in case you guys don't know the part I'm talking about. Let's have it right here.
Which song are you talking about?
Question. Did you ever have someone kiss you in a crowded room and every single one of your friends was making fun of you, but 15 seconds later they were clapping too? Then what did you do? What scenario is that?
And that
I don't
really
think
gets
anyone
me.
has ever found themselves in that scenario. It doesn't make sense. It bothers me every time I hear it. But otherwise, the song, it's a well done song. Like if I could get past that lyric. Anyway, Mike, your turn to be the villain here. There you go.
Oh God. Are you
There
really
he
gonna
goes.
are you really gonna make me explain why I hate this?
Tell me what songs you loved.
I hate this album. I mean, in the words of Kyle, I absolutely hate this. Oh my God. Like, it literally barely is able to just, it doesn't even, it feels like AI wrote the beats and the person singing is unaware of what the beats are going to do. So they're just, just plodding along, just there's no direction there. It literally feels like no one even put any thought into orchestrating or kind of like communicating the parts of the song with the vocals. So it's just kind of there in the background. I can't stand music like that. And it's just completely something I can't even rate. I almost could rate this 0 because it's just, to me, it's not music. And I hate to say those words, but it's barely music. It's just, it could be a cappella for all I know. So just if I'm able to pick I mean, these are my 5s. I hate to say that. These are my 5s out of 10s, and those are Vigilant I almost said Vigilante shit. Wow. Boy, if I could take those words back. But Antihero, I even had the pleasure of watching the music video. I don't know if you guys did this as well.
That was a great video.
And like it's the only thing that redeemed like the parts of the music I didn't like. It's got some interesting quality to it, but it's also kind of like self, like in a way she's kind of like boosting her image of herself by having all these people talk about her at her own funeral, and they're all like, oh, you named this after her, how dare you do that, it's her kids or whatever. And yeah, like it's the only song on the entire record that it got stuck in my head. Other than that, majority of them were gone, except maybe a select few other songs. Yeah, so that there's my top rated track, Antihero. And then Kyle, without fail, we are on perfect sync that the Bigger Than the Whole Sky actually got a higher rating than
of course it did.
Dude, without a doubt. I can even show you on my thing. I mean, I'm sure you believe, but it's the only one I rated besides You're on Your Own, Kid, which I agree. You know what's crazy about You're on Your Own, Kid? It's almost like it's building up. It could have been like a pop kind of rock song, the way it's like strumming and it's kind of like building. And I'm like, here, it's gonna take off. Here it comes. And it just never does. It's just this building kind of guitar in the background that's very faint and feels like it's going to get louder and more like intense, but it just continuously just flirts with the buildup, and then it just kind of gets louder, but it doesn't do anything, and then it's the song is over. So yeah, You're on Your Own, Kid. Yeah, and then once we pass those songs, I mean, Midnight Rain, Question, Vigilante shit, Bejeweled. I mean, they're barely noticeable. Bejeweled was cringy with the whole. Ugh, her voice was like the way she did those like the shimmer. Ugh, like I literally, oh God, I ran out of beer. But anyway, yeah, like I God, it was terrible. But yeah, and then Labyrinth. Honestly, I may have fallen out of my chair and hit my head because I don't even remember that song happening. I listened to the album 3 times, so I believe it's like when you drive through a dead zone and your cell phone loses signal. It literally, I that was the dead zone because I don't even remember that song. But yeah, and then God, it was just once we got to the end, I was just like, and then I got to the 3 a.m. edition, and yeah, like I said, the Great War was just bad, bigger than the whole sky. It was sad, and I think that's why I liked it because I'm a sad person. You know, and I'm sure a lot of the Swifters are gonna come after me and are gonna call me lots of names, I'm sure. But hey, bring it on. I have a role to play here, so yeah, and then I honestly have nothing else to say about this album except it just feels so empty and it feels just devoid of any pacing. I mean the media world loves it. I've looked at all the reviews. There's only 1 or 2 out of every single media review site that said it was a great album and blah 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 blah. Like only one of them I think had the balls to say anything other than that. Like majority of them say it's it's like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. I think that's the general consensus of what they're saying. So yeah, all I got. What do you say?
Some of that even higher. A lot of the reviews I think it debuted with like a Metacritic score or whatever, like 98.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. But yeah, I really have nothing
world
else.
Record for most amount of streams for an album in a single day.
90%. Like that. Yeah, man. I'm in the 3%, man. I'm in the bottom 3, man. I'm in the barrel.
If people are going berserk, I mean, just look at this for a second. It's like
I think there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of recency bias with this record. It's good. I do think it's good. In my opinion, I enjoy it. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as people are saying. I see like on just different like pages, like the Reddit pages and Instagram, social media, YouTube, everyone's freaking out like this is her best work. It's so good. The lyrics are so good. I'm like, the lyrics can be good, that's fine, but the music that's backing it up is boring as hell.
Right.
And again, like I said earlier, that I think it's that singer-songwriter trap. Avril Lavigne fell into it on not her most recent album, but the one before that, where she wrote all like serious music and it ended up being a boring album. That's kind of the trap that I think Taylor Swift has been in, where I got to write these poetic songs that all have these crazy complex lyrics and all the symbolism and blah blah blah, but the music behind it and the production hasn't been backing it up.
And I'll be honest with you, listening to this album made me want to hear her other music that I actually hated before, but now I actually have a new fondness towards it because it's not this. Like I literally was like, I want to hear the Romeo and Juliet never want to be a gnome or whatever she says. I'm not sure what she says, but yeah, like
just go in any retail store, I'm sure you'll hear it.
Yeah, like honestly, I thought to myself, man, like I mean, I never really enjoyed those songs, but they actually were like 10s compared to this. So like that,
yeah, they're catchy and fun.
Right, and they have just like life to them, and I get it. It's midnight and she's trying to do these sleepy songs, but like even in a sleepy song album, you gotta have a pacing. You gotta have moments of cliffs and valleys. You can't just be in the valley the whole time and then like somewhere in that find some kind of whole picture. It just feels like one big continuous song. The whole thing could have been edited as one song and I wouldn't have blinked an eye.
I agree. Well, that's why I think that there's, like I said, hits different. Mike, you probably didn't listen to that one, but that one by far rivals Anti-Hero for best song here. It's a fun song reminiscent of like the 1989 full pop days. That should have been on here. Paris should have been on there. I think even High Infidelity should have been on the original and swapped out like Labyrinth, Vigilante shit. Even just inserting like Paris hits different high, just inserting those right into the like boring sections in place of other ones, I think would have made it a significantly more enjoyable listen through front to back. But hey, I'm not the producer, so I don't, what do I know?
Maybe you should produce her.
Yeah. Well,
Come on, Kyle.
someone put Taylor Swift in touch with me. I got
Do it.
got it.
Hey, if my aunt works for Elton John and Jimmy Buffett, then you can work with Taylor. You can work with Taylor Swift. Anything's possible.
I'll pull up Audacity on my computer and we'll record an album that way.
Yes. We'll do the drum beats with it too.
Nice.
Oh god, it's so bad. Any other like? Are we ready to go to our concluding thoughts on Midnights?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, I'll go first. I will get my crazy thoughts out of the way as well. So, you know, this is her 10th studio album. We just saw that as well on the Wikipedia page. I will say though, you know, is it as good as, you know, 1989 or Lover or that era of like pop music? I would say no. I mean, do I think it's better in some ways, or maybe not always, but some ways better than Evermore and Folklore? I would have to say yes. It's much better than. I would say it's better than those two personally, because I mean those two were like just out of left field. There was a very unique direction for her to go in, but it didn't work for everyone. I mean, Kyle has gone on record. He said that it didn't really work for him at all. For me, it didn't work. It work as well as I thought it would, because it's a new Taylor Swift album. I'm like, oh, it's this. But I think for the album we just got, I mean, given that what it is, I would say, ranking wise, if we're going out of 5, because you know me, I for some reason my mind always just goes to 10, like 1 to 10 for some reason. I'm not sure why, but tonight I'm going to stick with the 1 to 5 ranking. I got you guys. Don't worry. Because then normally I'm like, let's go to 10. But for I'm really trying. I would say, but for me personally, this album, I mean, it has its highs, it has a couple high points, especially on the deluxe stuff. It has a bunch of lows. Like the second half of the standard edition, I felt like, as I said, and Kyle said pretty much the same thing too. And Mike just flat out hates it. But like the second half of the standard edition kind of just fell flat. Like, you know, you just questionable choices, instrumentation, all that stuff. I'm gonna have to go a solid 2.65 out of 5. That's my rating for it. I mean, because is it a step up though from Folklore and Evermore? That's where I'm at, because like those are her most two recent releases, and those like caught a lot of people off guard, or like people loved it or hated it, whatever. But for me, this was a step up from there. But she has to win me over a different way than just, you know, I would love to hear Welcome to New York again. I would love to hear Style again, or Shake It Off. That's their Lover, or even the Me with Brendan Urie, Panic at the Disco kind of thing. I would love to hear something like that again. It's just a matter of, you know, her next album. Hopefully she goes in that direction again. This one was just very like questionable choices. I mean, different sounds. It was quiet. I was like I told you guys, I was listening to it on the way up to Boston, and I was hesitant to fall asleep. It's like, while I'm driving, like, can we change this to American Idiot? Is that okay? It's like, whatever. But no, but like, honestly though, for me, 2.65 out of 5 for me for Taylor Swift Midnights. I'm gonna get a beating when someone I know finds out that rating. But that's just me. Let's jump over to Mixed Bag Kyle, or Cow.
Mixed Bag.
Whatever. Cowell, whatever you were before. What's your rating for?
Now tell us your rating in cow face.
In cow face.
I was about to switch over. How'd you?
Oh,
There we
Yeah,
go.
right. In Cowfield.
All right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, good album. Recency bias has really taken over here. I think it's already being overrated. I think maybe in a couple of years, people will look at it and be like, yeah, it wasn't as good as we thought it was.
Yeah.
I do agree with JT. I think that it's definitely better than Folklore and Evermore as a total album listening experience. I think that Folklore and Evermore had higher highs. Like there's a lot more songs that I'd give it 10 out of 10 to on those, but the album experience as a whole for those was not as good as this one. Now, I will say I did enjoy this album. I'm not on the same wavelength as Mike, where I thought it was like a dreadful listen. Thought it was enjoyable. Mostly full of 7s and 8s out of 10s, couple 9s, and only like 2 10s, and one of them being a deluxe track you can only get on the Target CD. Hopefully that changes. But really, just again, vocal effect overkill on here, reverb on her voice. She has a great voice. I don't know why she would cover it up with the reverb and all that so much. Wish there was more fun stuff on here. I do wish that we got back to the fun songs and the fun upbeat production styles. And I'm not saying that we need fun songs from her all the time, but I would like an album that has peaks and valleys, because the songs on here that were 7s and 8s would probably work better if they were surrounded by differing styles. In the context of an album that just sounds the same throughout, it just oversaturates it with the same sounds and makes it, like Mike said, you could have just labeled this a 40-minute song and it probably would have been fine for at least most of it. With that said,
please give it a 2.
I wish I could. But with that said, I'm actually going to go 3.5. I enjoyed the album a decent amount. It's nowhere near her best work. I only put it above Folklore and Evermore. 3.5 it is. I would kill for another album of just big, large scale production. Doesn't even have to be fun songs. Could be an entire album, hour and a half worth of slow songs for all I care. But I want better production. Not that the production quality was bad. I mean, more just not minimalistic. Yeah. I don't want minimalistic pop anymore. I don't want minimalistic indie. That's my personal preference. I know a lot of people like it, but it's just, I don't think it works for an entire album's worth of material.
And then we finish it off with Mike.
All right. Okay, so now I'm going to do a comparison of music to food. I've done this many times. This is a very common comparison that I've made. So we all love a fat cheeseburger once in a while. It's just big, dumb, fun, nothing. It's not good for you, but hey, you know what? It's nice to have some junk food once in a while to make you feel alive, to have some fun, whatever. And in a lot of ways, pop music is junk food. It is the kind of thing you indulge in, and then you go back and you eat your greens or your whole grains, which could be something that's got a little more substance, something that's got a little more. It's harder to digest. It's not so easy to just dissect and create. It's much more complex, and that's kind of my kind of idea with this album. It's a bunch of junk food in one sitting, and there's no, like Kyle was saying, peaks and valleys. There's no complexity, there's no substance to go alongside that junk that gives you that balance. You're just, get those glasses on from so and since I am a consistently consumer of music that has a lot more substance and complexity to it, this is not my wheelhouse, not my forte. It was gonna be a 1.5, but there's unfortunately I have a system of rating that once I give my rating for an album, I deduct a album point, based on the like Kyle saying, the whole theme of the album is just one sound. It just doesn't have anything else going with it. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of engineering with the beats. That only a couple times in the album did I feel like the beat actually came to life. Other times it was just kind of just like it was literally just a dry one snare and then just some bass and a dry snare, and I'm just like, I can't do this, man. I almost had to shut it off, but I powered through, and I deduct half a point for as an album being just full of the same kind of thing. So 1 out of 5 is my official rating for this album. It's just I couldn't squeeze out another point, because of all that. But yeah, like I said, I don't care about eating a junk food meal once in a while when it comes to music, but this really is bad for my health. You know what I mean? So it's definitely, and look at me. I had enough junk food as it is, so I gotta head over to the gym and put on something.
Well, is that everything, guys? We got our ratings and stuff like that.
He said, huh?
What's going on? I'm having way too much fun. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that's all we got, man. That's all we got.
But ultimately, everyone, ultimately is what you have to say. Jump down in the comment section below, share your thoughts, tweet, comment, subscribe, like, do whatever you have to do to follow us on our social media pages, and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and follow us on Instagram as well. Simply at the Super Review Show. I want to thank the two fine gentlemen for bashing this piece of. I'm just kidding. For at least discussing this album with me tonight, Kyle and Mike. As always, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for joining me. As always,
just remember, everyone, just being honest, opinion. No, no purposefully beating it down. It's just have to be honest.
Yes. We're being brutally honest with all of our listeners out there. Don't worry. We know who you are. Just saying.
Mike's just playing it up for the camera. He's going to go back and listen to this every day.
Yeah, I got my wig.
It was my favorite listen of 2022.
We'll see it on his favorites of the year list. Don't worry.
Oh,
Kyle, shut up. Stop sharing my secrets. Airing my dirty laundry. Jeez.
Dirty laundry. Anyways, that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Listen.